What's happening, good people? A lot of you don't understand uh, some of how I've built my business, and so for the last almost 15 years, maybe a little bit longer, I keep losing track. I need to figure out when I started doing that. I've been a public speaker, and so I go to different organizations or groups, schools, associations, corporate companies, um, literally all over, and speak, talk, right, about a lot of different topics. It has varied and shifted over the course of my career, but that is how I make money, and that is something I enjoy doing. I enjoy translating complex concepts and turning them into practicality and realistic change inside organizations, right? And so I work with the people side of I work in the people side of HR with organizations, institutions, groups, helping them personally and professionally grow, change, continue to be better, right? And something that I've been thinking about lately is people see speakers, public speakers, on stages, but they don't really understand the actual business behind the speaking. And so, if you are a public speaker or a professional speaker or someone who aspires to be this, then this actually should be really good for you. What people typically see is the keynote or the applause or the pictures or the successful moment, but what they don't get to see is the follow-ups or the relationship building or building the CRM, the customer relationship management, if you didn't know what CRM is, and the pressure to keep the momentum going, or as I describe it, turning the valve on and keeping the water flowing. Getting booked is actually not the hard part on the long term. Now, don't get me wrong, getting booked is hard, and hopefully becomes easier after you've done it a while. But the long term piece of it is thinking about building something sustainable after you get booked. That is some of the real work. So, for those of you who do not know, again, a huge part of my work is speaking around leadership development, cultural conversations, or culture conversations, community conversations, professional development. It's a wide range of industries, right? Business, small business, real estate, entrepreneurship, higher education, anything revolving, continuing to help people grow and get better. That's usually the lane that I'm connected in. And I've been blessed to speak in a ton of different spaces, as I mentioned before: corporate associations, colleges, conferences, community organizations, nonprofits, NBA teams, just kind of all over, right? Fortune 500 folks. What has been the most interesting piece is I know that when people see speakers online, they assume, yo, if I could just get booked, I'd be good, right? If I could just get that contact, I'd be straight. And I know that I probably thought that too. I know I thought just getting the opportunity or getting in front, getting in the room or getting the door or the visibility would be the goal. But over time, I realized that the keynote is actually one of the smallest parts of the business. And most people are not going to tell you that. Now, it looks big, of course, because that's what you see. You see, and it looks even bigger when you see the different stages or the amount of people that are in the room. Um, but what happens after the keynote, or even leading up to the keynote, is actually way more important than people realize, right? There's a follow-up. There are relationships that need to be built. There are referrals, hopefully, which is a whole aspect of a business that I probably need to go into later. There's what does it look like from a positioning aspect long term. There are more systems and a back end that people don't talk about. And that is where I feel like the business grows or doesn't grow. I wish people would just be honest about it, because there have been times where I have left opportunities on the table. And I'm talking about recently. Not because I wasn't good at speaking, not because I did a terrible job, but because I didn't have a system or thus enough systems to help me with continuing to grow my speaking business. So I would have like a really great conversation. People loved it. Great conversations afterward. And then I got home and got tired, or went to the next thing, or went to the next speaking engagement, right? The next responsibility, and just didn't maximize effectively what I was supposed to do, right? So whether it was maximizing the relationship or the follow-up process or whatever the thing was, I didn't do it. And because of that, my business, has suffered. There have been times I did not follow up, and I'm the king of telling people to follow up. There have been times I didn't follow up because I was too busy. And that's one of the biggest lessons that I've been learning over the course of my career is a lot of people are better than they think they are, but they don't have the systems strong enough to support their talent. And I'm talking about me. Again, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about me. Of course, that applies to more than just speaking. If you are watching this, sorry, I had to take a phone call because that is the work behind the work for real. So I think I left off with just talking about like people don't build the thing. So what I'm noticing as a pattern is a lot of growth does not come from just doing more. It comes from actually maximizing what already happened. So case in point, sometimes we think that we need another opportunity or the next, my guy Kendall used to always say, go get 3 more. What we might need to do is figure out what our follow-up process is, or how are we thinking about our relationship strategy to get in front of more people, or the better system that we have in staying connected to people that we're already connected to. Some of the biggest opportunities in my life have come from just randomly messaging people, right? We call it cold outreach. They came from what we would call cold, building into something that was warm, and then building actual relationships. So the second part of my biggest opportunities in my life have come straight from actual relationships and building trust and building consistency and people remembering how they felt around me and when they interacted with me. There are people, I just had a really long conversation with a friend of mine. There are people that I come in contact with, and sometimes I'm supposed to ask them for a large ask, a big ask or something, and I won't. Not because I'm uncomfortable, not because I'm not confident, but because I value the relationship more than I value the ask. And so I think that is, for me, why relationships matter so much, because it's not the transactional networking. It is not the same when you go to an event and it's just, oh, who are you? What do you do? What can I get from you? It's actually building real relationships, because that is what compounds over time. So the move that I'm making right now is to continue bettering and building my systems around the relationships. Not just about getting booked, not just about being visible, not just about getting opportunities, although those are important. Let me not miss that. But building infrastructure around my follow-ups, around my connections, around the consistency and my long-term value. Honestly, one of the reasons that I'm documenting is because of that too. I think that people need to understand that success isn't a big moment. It's not just one big moment. It is small systems done consistently over time, and sometimes long periods of time. So if you are a speaker, or you're talented, or you feel like things continue to get stuck or inconsistent, it's probably not because of your talent. It might be because you need a better system. And I, of all people, the doer of many things, I needed and need a better system. So trust me, this is something that I'm actively learning right now. I'm slowing down on purpose. This is something I'm actively learning right now. This is something that I'm committed to doing and talking more about, because that is the work behind the work. The work behind the work is all about us figuring out what is it that we need to do to become better, to do more, to make more, to be more. So welcome back to the work behind the work.